Great Gatsby, working with Baz Luhrmann. That was an amazing movie too.
I learned one little lesson on that movie about getting older. A few of the PAs would ask us on the movie, how did you get involved? And I would say, well, my roommate in college was F. Scott Fitzgerald. And they would say, not thinking that was 30, 40 years before, they'd say, wow, what was that like?
Yeah. Well, that was terrible.
So then the joke was really on me.
It is an art, choosing gladiators. They're usually prisoners of war.
I claim this city for the glory of Rome.
You have something in you. Rage. Never let it go.
Most fighters won't survive.
You must help him.
Strength among us! I don't fight for power. I fight the free road for men like them.
Your name will be forgotten!
To restore order, I must have power.
Everything is forgotten in time. Empires fall. So do emperors.
This is war! Real war!
The odds are against you.
The odds are always against me.
Welcome to Behind the Lens. Today, a really special day because their latest film is opening everywhere. Actually, it opened around the globe last week and now here in North America. Of course, it's Gladiator II. They are also husband and wife. They are partners in Red Wagon Entertainment and veteran producers of so many movies. This is Doug Wick and this is Lucy Fisher. Welcome to Behind the Lens.
Thank you, Pete.
When I look at your credits individually and together, it's really impressive. You actually are the winner of the David O. Selznick Award from the Producers Guild. You were the first couple ever to get that. Dick Zanuck and David Brown got one, but it was quite an achievement. And Lucy, you headed the Producers Guild with Gail.
Yeah, many years after that award.
Many years after that, but that's exciting.
Because she didn't give it to herself.
Well, congratulations on Gladiator II. It's such a great movie. It's so fun. And today's the big opening. Are you excited? Are you nervous? Because it opened internationally in some markets last week and became Ridley Scott's biggest opening ever.
We did great in Europe. I think the day we stop being nervous for an opening weekend, should just give up the job.
Yeah, you got to. You never know which way it's going to go.
You just got to care. You can't help yourself. You care so much. You hope it has a great life.
Yeah. And for this one, it's been a long time coming. This is 24 years after the first one, for which you won an Academy Award as producer of that. Now you are both producers on this one as well. Why did it take so long, guys? Come on, 24 years. Usually we have a sequel going every other year with these hit movies and things.
Well, there were a few things, some of which may raise some questions about our competence as producers. But we killed off two of the leads.
Yeah, that's not a good way to make a sequel.
Yeah, so that puts a little dampener. We were very aware that we got really lucky on the first one. Everything went right. There's a lot of bad sequels in Hollywood. Yeah. So that would be an excuse for maybe it taking 5 or 10 years. The next 10 years was looking for a story that was worth telling. We knew it was going to be Lucius, the only boy in the movie.
Yeah.
We knew he'd be estranged from his family.
Paul Mescal's character.
But what the journey would be was several years in a room with 2 different writers and always Ridley.
Wow. Oh, that's cool. Did you have some really bad ideas at any point in the 20 years or so that you developed this?
Personally?
Yeah. Or anybody. I mean,
I'll take all the heat.
Did people come and give you this will be great,
He can speak to some of those
really
better than I can.
I met with a lot of writers to hear their pitches, and even with the most talented people, there's plenty of terrible ideas.
Yeah.
So we cycled through a lot of bad possibilities, a lot of ideas so you could keep Russell going through the afterlife to get back to his family.
Okay, he was dead.
He was dead.
Okay, he's coming back.
He's coming back.
Movies do that all the time.
Yeah, no, there were a lot of very problematic ideas. Russell's agent called me just after the movie opened big, and he said, "Look, I've got an idea. At the end of the movie, they're carrying Russell's body out of the arena. Why don't they just take it around the corner? Russell gets down off it, says, 'Hey, it worked. They believe I'm dead.' They high five, and we start the new movie."
Why not that idea?
Exactly. Pete. Thanks, Pete. That would have been the end of my career.
Yeah. It sounds fun, though. Yeah. Was Russell into that idea? Did it ever get to him?
Yeah, Russell.
It did.
Russell was interested in the afterlife of his journey as basically a dead person going to rejoin his family, passing through the Roman underground.
Thank God you didn't make that movie.
Yeah, thank God.
The movie you did make is great. It is like what Denzel Washington, one of your stars, said, Cecil B. DeMille on steroids, which is a line I love, But it is, and I know I said that you, Lucy, said something about this is the last world-building movie in the age of AI and green screen where they can just do it with all these technical things. You guys went back to Malta all over the place and built this world, like the old Cecil B. DeMille movies.
It's really fun to work that way. I mean, I hope it's not the last one, but it felt like it might be, just because people don't do it that much anymore. And Arthur Max is an architect as well as a production designer. I mean, he built a city.
What is it like producing a movie on this scale? They don't do them like this anymore, as they say.
We thought we'd seen a lot when we did Memoirs of a Geisha, because we rebuilt, I think, 3 blocks of
1930s Kyoto.
In the valley.
Right. Is that where that was shot?
Most of it was shot there, but we did shoot also in Kyoto and in the Sea of Japan, and then we shot at the Huntington Gardens, the Japanese garden.
Oh, why not? Yeah, that's great. I love
that little
movie.
garden that everybody likes.
That movie was great, and by the way, has, along with Schindler's List, my very favorite John Williams score. I was so upset when he didn't win. He was nominated. He's always nominated, but he didn't win because I thought that was
surprised.
That was one of the best scores he's ever done.
But to Lucy's point, we then built the 1920s Long Island for Gatsby in Sydney, Australia.
Oh God!
So we had been involved with some world building before, but nothing like ancient Rome and Malta, and there were literally blocks of ancient Rome. There were life-size, aside from the Colosseum, there were life-size statues of like Pedro Pascal on a horse. He was a great Roman general.
Right.
And our drive to work, which as it was occurring, we knew we were really lucky, is as we drove in towards the set, literally we passed hundreds of extras in Praetorian uniforms, togas, costumes. And all the actors said that, to Lucy's point about how rare it is to have everything physical there, that for them to get in character, to be in the arena, to be in the Emperor's box in the looking down on, it's not a cutaway later on, looking on the action on the arena floor.
That's amazing. It's really, and this has so many what they call set pieces. But I mean, from the idea of filling it with water and having sharks there, giant rhino marching in there is amazing right there. The baboon brawl is one of my favorites. I mean, I know there's nothing Ridley Scott can't do. What is he, 87 now?
He has a very unusual way of working, which is that he personally storyboards every scene in the movie long before we ever get to the set. Long before we've even finished the script, he'll actually start conceptualizing and visualizing the scene before we even have dialogue. If we think a scene is going to be a battle scene, for instance, he'll be thinking of every angle, and he not only draws them, he paints them, colors them in.
Wow.
They're gorgeous. There's going to be a Taschen book of them for this movie, but he started as a painter, and so he thinks in visual terms, and so then he can hand these storyboards out, so all of his 8 to 14 cameras all know what everybody's shooting. The production designer knows, the script supervisor knows, the camera, everybody knows, and so everybody's on the same page. So he shoots with so many cameras that when we're watching 8 cameras.
Wow.
And he's directing 8 cameras. So while he's directing the actors, he's also saying, you know, you go look there. And they're dressed in costume many times so that you don't see them and they're scuttering around.
Wow.
So it's a completely different way of shooting a movie. It doesn't do the normal coverage where I'm on you and then I'm on us and then I'm on him and then I go over there and then you get out there. It's all at the same time. So it's like more like a play. It's very much in the present, and everybody has to bring it right away because you're not getting your own separate close-up. You're part of the ensemble, and the cameras, one camera or another, is always moving.
Wow. Did you guys freak out when the strikes hit because you were in production, like a lot of stuff, and you couldn't rush to finish this? You had to shut down?
Shut down. We knew it was maybe coming. Then we knew it was coming. Then it came, and there was a couple of days until we knew it was going to be the last day. And we have this whole city built. I mean, it's sometimes we say 4 blocks, sometimes we say 14 blocks. All I know is I would get lost on it for like the first 2 weeks. It was that big just to find the lunch place. You'd walk through the Coliseum and then you walk down these windy streets, then you walk past the giant foot statue, then you walk past this. Anyway, we see the sun setting in Malta over the water, and 2,000 people are on that day, or approximately, between the 450 crew members and the 1,000 extras. Oh, and the sun sets dark.
That's it?
Yeah.
Wow.
We didn't know, how long it would be. So Paul at first said, "Well, I can stay here and keep working out." We go, "No, it's over."
Part of the job is always looking for the silver lining.
Yeah.
And here was a gigantic silver lining. The writer's strike had stopped us from doing some final polishing on the script.
Right.
So in the middle of the movie, Ridley's editors are constantly working. We got to see with Ridley an assembly of the movie up to that point. That's so valuable. So then that was really which performances were working, which needed a little help, where was the storytelling working. Yeah. And so I would say that really ended up contributing to the quality of the movie.
Does it help?
So I have to thank SAG for that.
Wow. Was casting difficult here to, when you're following an Oscar-winning performance by Russell Crowe, no less, but, was it difficult, or did Paul Mescal just fall into your lap, or how did that happen?
We saw normal people.
And that just screams Gladiator.
No. Really cute guy and talented actor.
Yeah.
And we had the benefit of, I wasn't on the first movie, but they had the benefit of the studio letting them go with a person who wasn't that well known, Russell Crowe. Mm-hmm. He had done one movie and gotten a lot of attention, but he wasn't a star yet that people knew, and they centered a movie around him, which is a pretty big deal. So we had the history of maybe taking a little bit of a gamble. Yeah. And we fell in love with Paul right away because he's Paul and he's as fantastic in person as he is on the screen.
Right.
And we were trying to sort of nose around and try to figure out, could he ever be a gladiator? Because here he is, plays a sensitive guy, and is really intelligent and articulate. And we finally said, "Did you ever play sports in high school?" Yeah. And he said he played Irish rugby. Oh yeah. And so Doug, also a crazy rugby player, knew what that meant, which is many concussions
and a few broken bones. So.
Oh, well, that's good news.
Yeah, so exactly. it was good news. It was, thank God. And and then right then you saw he's so good. We had seen such excellent work at the sensitive inner life of a young man, but you got a real sense of the alpha. Right. And then of course Ridley also saw normal people. As soon as he met with him, a half an hour, he was ready to go. And the studio, remember, for the studio, it's obviously a big movie, an epic. They'd always prefer a star, an established star. We had no second choice, but they went to see him in the London Theatre.
Oh, he did Sweet Bird of Youth?
No, a Streetcar.
A Streetcar.
Yeah.
Streetcar.
Streetcar. And they called after seeing his performance at Streetcar and said, "We're in too. This is the guy."
Oh, wow.
So everyone had their little journey of, we're not going to go with a conventional movie star.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll make one like we did on the first movie.
Which
But
is the
there's a
smartest way. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's got a risk because there's plenty of stories where everyone felt secure. That person didn't happen,
Yeah.
and nor did the movie.
There were a couple of moments when I was watching a movie that I thought I was seeing Kirk Douglas in Spartacus a little bit. Not Russell Crowe, Kirk Douglas. I just saw that. He's got that, that kind of thing. It was really interesting to me. Are you going to do Gladiator III? Because Ridley was throwing around the idea that he had another one.
We'd love to.
I mean, the only thing I will say is we have very appropriately high standards. The public has been really good to these movies.
Yeah.
So we would like nothing more than having a story, a script that's not only worthy of making, but worthy of the audience.
Yeah.
We're not there yet, but we would certainly, it would be, what could be more fun for us than
No.
to-
Did you ever think you were going to win the Best Picture Oscar with this when you embarked on this?
No.
You did not?
No, because what first turned me on was someone came to me with research about how the Roman arena was the epicenter of the Roman Empire. And that technology, even flooding the arena, animal husbandry, it was such a focus that all the technology was developed to accommodate it, engineering, politics, everything like that. So it felt like a great topic. Then in more in the research, we would hear about people who had been at the top of society who suddenly were slaves in the arena. So you look in the producer's manual, it says, oh, that could be a good performance. So we saw that, but no, we were just hoping to make a really good movie.
Yeah.
And also the default on a movie like this is that the boys will go to see a fight movie.
Yeah.
So if the drama is disappointing, you sort of have a way to possibly get your money out.
Sure.
Opening weekend, Lucy and I were in a car. We went to theaters Friday night, and it was all boys in all kinds of leather, edgy, fight,
Wow.
tattoos, and literally by the next night, Saturday, all the women were out too. The word was that quick about the romance, about the heart of the movie.
This is great. And now they're all doing this, Glickid and, Gladiator, and they've got all kinds of names to make it another Barbenheimer. Do you like that? Is that good for the business to have two movies coming out, huge movies, against each other and having them play off each other in that way?
We just want people to want to go to the movies.
Yeah, right?
That's how we honestly feel. Everybody should go to the movies, see them all.
By the way,
That's it.
and the more good movies, people go into the theaters, they remember what they liked about the experience.
Right, yeah.
By the way, same with Broadway. I mean, it's more localized, but there's theaters all over the country. But when something like A Chorus Line comes along, everyone goes and falls in love with the theater.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
the more movies that come out that enthrall the audience, they see that one weekend, they're gonna think next week, hey, let's go back. That was really
It
fun.
feeds the habit,
Yeah.
and now they're selling popcorn in big giant tubs. I saw one for this movie that's like a Coliseum. I said, wow, okay,
They think of everything.
They do, but it's good, and it carries on the experience.
People will always, I believe, like to hear stories in a group.
Yeah.
And it's happened from Campfires for Cavemen, probably through the Greek theater to Broadway to movies. And then people like to see them, on their phone too. But
Yeah.
we really do hope that this movie, because it is so much spectacle and there is so much in every frame, we'll want to see it in the movie theater, because a lot of people have said to us that it makes us feel really happy when we hear it. Oh, I remembered why I like to go to the movies.
Right. It's absolutely true. Now, I have to say, so you are married. You were married in 1986, okay? And you, Doug, were Yale. You went to Yale cum laude. You went to Harvard cum laude. So did the cum laude of it all get you together, or are you just too smart for anybody else?
Well,
It was very easy to get a cum laude there.
I was going like, wow.
We were, by the way, so careful for many years with Lucy as a studio executive and me as a
Yes.
producer, because there's nothing ickier in Hollywood than somehow seeming to take advantage because of a relationship. So we were pretty careful about that. And it's much harder in Hollywood to have a good relationship than a good career.
But we actually avoided working with each other for many years because, as Doug said, I was a studio executive and I didn't want to be in the position of saying no to his movies, nor in the position of saying yes if other people were saying no.
Oh, that's interesting.
And nor did I want to be in the position, which we soon learned, of being an early reader of one of his scripts that he was excited about. We finally got to a rule where 5 other people should read it before I do, because I didn't want to be the first one with like, oh, I think it's really good. And I actually once did say on a movie, well, when are they going to do the reshoots? And he said, what are you talking about?
Oh, no.
And I said, what, nobody's mentioned?
What movie was that?
I'll say, because it was an interesting experience. It was an early cut of Wolf.
Okay.
Jack Nicholson.
Mike Nichols.
And I was so in the bubble, I didn't yet realize that the movie didn't work. So
a lot of it did work. It just
I know,
didn't all
but
work.
finally, it didn't work as well as it should have, given all that talent. And so I'm home running it, and Lucy's there, and I'm seeing all the good stuff. I mean, Jack was mesmerizing. And then she says, well, when are you going to do the reshoots? And it was like, what do you mean?
Reshoots. Oh my God. Well, you do keep talking about that she was studio. She was on the other side. Listen to this resume. Executive story editor at MGM, then vice president at 20th Century Fox, head of production at Zoetrope with Coppola early on. Fascinating. 1981, you became the executive vice president worldwide production for Warner Brothers movies like Color Purple, Gremlins, Goonies, Bridges of Madison County. And then in 1995, vice chair, Columbia TriStar, Men in Black, Jerry Maguire, As Good as It Gets, Best Friend's Wedding, Stuart Little, on and on and on. And now you left that part to partner with your husband on Red Wagon. Why were you done with the studio side of things and ready to do this?
I was just really done. I was the vice chairman, and I had been offered the chairmanship. And much to their surprise, I said no. And they said, but there is no chairman. You'll be doing the job anyway because you're the vice chairman. And we don't have a chairman, so you're doing the job whether you take the title or not. And I said, I had by that time noticed that I was in more and more rooms I didn't want to be in. And I was more and more in the rooms with the people saying no. I wasn't in the room as much with the people having the ideas of how to make the movie. I was more in the reasons why we shouldn't make the movie room.
Oh, wow.
And I got more, the higher up, the more corporate I was, and I didn't like that. I didn't want to be in charge of the whole slate. I liked working on a few things that I really liked, and we had 3 youngish daughters, and I wanted to see them and put them to bed every night, or as many nights as I could. And I knew as the head of this, at that point, that studio was making about 30 movies a year. Wow. And just the amount of previews that I would have to go to at least two or 3 previews for every movie, and I have to go to premieres, and I have to do all this part that wasn't the part that I liked, which was sort of the ceremonial part, and I'd have to do a lot of nighttime work besides my daytime work, and it wasn't something that I was that interested in doing. And meanwhile, I really enjoyed. I would actually get up and leave the room when his projects were being mentioned at Sony. He was at Columbia way before I was.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 years or so before I was. So it was his studio, and then suddenly I came.
Right.
And so I would, on Stuart Little, I would get up and leave the room. And finally everybody said, hey, you did all the Amblin movies at Warner Brothers. You're the person who should most be in the room.
For Stuart
Why
Little,
are you leaving? And so I said, okay, well, we'll see if we can paddle through this rough waters. And we did, and we had a fantastic time working together. So that we really have the work marriage we can thank Stuart Little for, because after that we saw that actually we didn't kill each other. We really enjoyed working together.
Right, yeah.
And it's so much fun to be able to share your work and not have whoever you're talking to think, when will they ever stop talking? I'm so not interested.
That's so interesting, because that could have gone the other way.
Yes.
That could have gone the other way.
We waited a long time. We were careful.
You did, yeah. And you started as it said, coffee boy. I don't know what they call that now, but right away with Alan J. Pakula, one of my favorite producers first, and then he became a wonderful director. And you were AP on associate producer on Starting Over, which is a great movie. Your very first solo producing work, Working Girl, got you a Best Picture Oscar nomination. Harrison Ford, Melanie Griffith. I was at the premiere of that, by the way, on the Fox lot.
Wasn't that an amazing
I still have the scarf and everything from that. They turned it all into Winter Wonderland. I said, this is Hollywood.
We said that we didn't see a premiere as big as what we've had with Gladiator since the Working Girl.
Since anybody that was at Working Girl would be like, oh, that was unbelievable.
ice skating. Yeah.
Barry Diller and Mike Nichols were really close friends, and Barry wanted Mike to be pleased, so he basically rebuilt Central Park in the middle of winter.
I've never forgotten that one. Wolf, you mentioned with Mike Nichols. Girl Interrupted, which got Angelina Jolie an Oscar. Hollow Man, of course, Gladiator, Spy Game, and then all these movies you've done together. Peter Pan, Stuart Little 2, and Bewitched. We mentioned Memoirs of a Geisha. It's Great Jarhead. Great Gatsby, working with Baz Luhrmann. That was an amazing movie, too. These are big movies.
Yeah, what a book, too. I learned one little lesson on that movie about getting older, where you realize that young people think all fogies are more or less the same age.
Right, yeah.
So a few of the PAs would ask us on the movie, how did you get involved? And I would say, well, my roommate in college was F. Scott Fitzgerald. And they would say, not thinking that was 30, 40 years before, they'd say, wow, what was that like?
Yeah, well, that was...
So then the joke was really on me.
Yeah, well, it really was. I heard all kinds of crazy things happen when you're making movies, and you as producers have to deal with it. But I heard there was something that happened with Stuart Little, and maybe the sequel or something like that with the cat.
Yes.
And I was thinking to myself when I heard this story, I'm going like, why would they hire a real cat? They are the most, I have a cat, so I know it's impossible to make them do things.
So fur was one of the real early challenges with CG.
Oh.
But what I kind of relish is some of the problems are a little bit funny. In those days, because the shooting was all in LA, we literally had a soundstage that was Central Park with a pond in it. And we were shooting a sequence with a cat who could do a certain kind of behavior.
Yeah.
I'm in my office, which is across the lot.
Yeah.
I get urgent, come to the set. And the message they gave me was, the cat's asshole has fallen off. So that's my day's work as a producer. I go over there. The cat from Stress had what they call a protruding asshole. Yeah. So we had to stop because this particular behavior was too anxiety for the cat. So there, partly you keep your sense of humor. I mean, there's always something.
It fell back in.
No, or on that movie, someone trips and the actor's on crutches, and what do you do?
Yeah.
On the first Gladiator, as you know, a key character died during the shooting.
This is Oliver Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we hadn't completed his performance, so we had to figure out a way, because the character would have just suddenly disappeared, and he's very primary.
Right.
We had to figure out a way to tell the rest of his story, and that. So there's always something.
It fascinates me, real producer stories, because this title, as you know better than anybody, having been obviously the head of the Producers Guild, and they've made real strides with the PGA mark that's next to it, so we know they are a real producer. It's really hard to get, because I have a producer friend that's on the Bob Dylan movie right now, and he had to go through this, and he still is. And I said, it's tough. They're being tough, on everything. But it's important because I see movies as a critic, and I always go to all the credits and everything. I've seen some recently. I think it's going back. I've seen 25 producer credits on things. I thought that was fixed, that this was going to change it, but it looks like it's not.
I'd like to address some of that because it's interesting. I wasn't a producer when the Producers Mark began. Doug was one of the primary people, along with Kathy Kennedy and Mark Gordon and quite a few others that went to studio begging them to try to do this. And our movie Lawless was the first movie that actually gave the PGA mark, just coincidentally. I also wasn't the head of the PGA then. But so that's how long ago it was, which is however many years ago that was. And a lot of very strict criteria are applied, and it's a blind process where people don't know what movie. The three arbitrators are chosen, and the people that are whose credits are being decided upon can veto people from the list.
Right.
So if they have some beef with somebody, that person won't be one of their arbiters. And it's people that, if it's a documentary, it'll be documentarians. If it's a big movie, there'll be people that know about that. So and people donate their time to do it. What's happening now, and why you're seeing the slippage, is it's so hard to get a movie made that they need the financing from so many different sources. And people are getting pressured because they don't want to say that so-and-so didn't do anything but give the money, because they want to be able to get the money again. And you see with studios, you don't just have one studio. You have several different partners on almost every movie. Not on ours, by the way. On Gladiator, Paramount was all in, but usually you see, so that's part of why the credits are getting, I would say, a little diluted. The Producers Guild has worked very, very hard to redo the questionnaires and redo all the philosophy behind each thing to try to make it so you can't game it.
Yeah.
So that it can't be, somebody shows up at a meeting so they can say they checked that box.
Yeah, exactly. And make sure that they were on the set. You guys are on the set.
You don't have to only be on the set. You can do a lot of stuff not on the set, but you have to do 50% of a certain amount of work.
Right.
And whether that could be in the pre-production, the post-production, on set, you can do a lot even if you're not on the set, because that's one part of making the movie, but there's lots of other parts of it too, like having the idea or nurturing it for 10 years or...
Sure.
But you have to be consequential to the process.
Yeah,
So it's not just being zealot.
You can't just get it as a favor.
No.
And you can't get it because you're somebody's brother-in-law, and you can't get it just because you're somebody's manager, and you can't get it because you just gave the money.
Right, yeah. When I look at your credits, it's producer. It's not like, and also want to be a director and also did this and everything. It's producer. You are the pure form of that, which is a rare species.
They make it so hard, yeah.
They do, I know a lot of producers who, they're not making any money. They're making movies and it's hard for them, and the Producers Guild isn't really a guild, it doesn't have the health and all of that, and you're working on it. I know you are, because I keep talking to people. One day,
You got to be doing it a big part for love, just because you can spend 10 years on it because you care, and suddenly you're the one who's giving part of your fee to get the movie made. And so don't buy a second home and enjoy the job.
That's a great way to end it. Thank you, Doug Wick, Lucy Fisher, for joining us. So interesting on Behind a Lens. And best of luck with Gladiator II.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. By the way, we love talking to people who also love movies.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.